Ekomas Mwengi Mutuse, MP Kibwezi West constituency. We must also appreciate Mr. Onyego Silvana Sosoro, a Member of Parliament for South Mugirango constituency. Mr. Wanyonyi Timothy Wetangula, Member of Parliament for Westlands. Honorable John Michael Mushira Mwangi, Member of Parliament for Ojoro Rock. Honorable John Makali Okwisia, MP Kadui. Honorable Aden Dawood Mohammed, Wajir East. Honorable CPS Suleka Halbal Haruni, nominated member. Senior member, Farah Malim, Dadaab constituency. A senior advocate, Francis Kajwang Tom Joseph. He represents Ruaraka constituency. The Honorable Dr. Otiende Amolo, senior counsel, who represents Rarienda. Honorable Muchangi Karemba, who is the member for Runyenje's constituency. Honorable Mugaka Stephen, member for West Mugirango constituency, and Honorable Siyand Amina Udgon, representing Garissa County. These are the members who sat on that day and went through the vetting process of the proposed chairperson of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. Right. As we speak today, it is very important for the country to note that there are issues that are being raised regarding human rights. And therefore, it was in the interest of the committee and this house and the country that the vetting is concluded as soon as it was practicably possible, so that we have a chairperson in place to deal with many of the matters, including the proposed compensation to the victims of the demonstrations that took place recently. Therefore, before the committee was actually the nominee, and we were able, in a nutshell, to establish the following. First and foremost, the report has been tabled, and these members have read it. It's comprehensive. It covers all the spheres that we are required to tackle when we are actually doing the approval hearing. On citizenship, we confirmed that Ms. Oganga is actually a Kenya citizen and does not hold any dual citizenship. She was born in Nairobi, although eventually she confirmed she was from Homa Bay. Then she holds various certificates, degrees, including a Bachelor of Laws degree and a Master of Laws degree from the University of Nairobi. Therefore, academically, she was actually qualified, and we did not have any issue with the certificates that were produced before us. As regards our experience, which is the most important when it comes to work, like this particular nominee is being appointed to, we confirmed that she has done various work, including human rights works, with the following entities. One is FIDA Kenya. This is the Federation, International Federation of, the name is not actually English. She has worked here to represent people who are downtrodden, and especially ladies. So those are human rights. She has also worked as Deputy Executive Director and Head of Programs with the Federation of Kenya Women Lawyers. This is the FIDA. That's the name I was looking for. Before proceeding to work for Human Rights Office with the United Nations High Commission for Refugees. She was actually a human rights officer. After that, she worked for, again, as a human rights specialist, deputy head of office, again, in the United Nations Office of the High Commission for Human Rights here in Nairobi. So, with such a background, this is a person who, in our view, can actually run this office to the satisfaction of Kenyans. Then from there, we were able to look at our writings, which, in my view, are relevant And then we went on to look at all the other aspects, including what we got from the entities under Chapter 6 of the Constitution regarding ethics and integrity. And all of them returned papers to the effect that she had no questions with the DCI, with ELB, with ORPP, with DPP, with ESCC, and all those integrity institutions. When we asked her about our relationship, and especially with a commission that has just been set up, a task force or whatever, to look into compensation of victims of demonstrations, which in our view is a mandate under the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. She was able to demonstrate that this entity is going to work closely with our office so that there is no antagonism between the two, but there is going to be unity between the two offices so that they are synchronized. They are able to give Kenyans the best results regarding that proposed compensation. So having considered all these matters and having listened to the candidate, we were convinced that she is suitable for the work. And therefore, today, we call upon this House to approve the appointment of Ms. Clarice Awo Oganga to be the chief, to the office of the chairperson of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. With those remarks, I now request again my vice chairperson of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, Honorable Ikomas Mwengi Mutuse, to actually second the approval. Thank you very much.
Proceed to second briefly.
Indeed, Madam Speaker, I will be very brief. I stand to second the motion as moved by the chair that Ms. Clarice Awo be approved by this House to be the new chairperson of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. I second, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that, taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the approval hearing of the nominee for appointment as chairperson of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, laid at the table of this House on Tuesday, 23rd September 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 252 of the Constitution, Section 11 of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights Act, Cap 7I, and Sections 3 and 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, Cap 7F, approves the appointment of Ms. Clarice Awo Oganga as the chairperson of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. Okay, Honorable Kaluma.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, let me congratulate the Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs for a good report which we have read through. And Honorable Speaker, today the whole nation knows that the Vice Chair of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, Honorable Mwengi Mutuse, does not only bring impeachment motions which succeed, but also stands before the floor to approve appointment into office and into various state offices. Of course, I join the committee in recommending the approval by this assembly of the nominees. Honorable Speaker, the warning is clear. They go in and play around. Mwengi Mutuse has the power to appoint and to bring motions to remove to this House. And when he does, he will always oblige. Honorable Speaker, Kenya National Commission on Human Rights is a very important commission because this is one country which has one of the richest human rights provisions under Chapter 4 of our Constitution. In fact, as a comparative constitutional law practitioner, whether you go to the US, whether you go across Africa, whether you go to Europe, they cite the Bill of Rights, which is embodied in Chapter 4 of our Constitution, as a true human right, not and a guiding, documentation of what should human rights and fundamental freedoms for all human persons, not just for citizens, be. Honorable Speaker, as I urge this House to approve these nominees, and I hope this House will resolve that we approve them so that they go into the office, let me say that there is one challenge we are facing in the country today, and that is how to balance matters stability of the state and the enjoyment of human rights and fundamental freedoms. We had a very untidy situation in 2024, in the month of June. We had a very untidy situation the other time. And Honorable Speaker, you hear people just talking human rights, human rights, human rights, but they are forgetting about the stability of the state. Let me caution, Honorable Speaker, that as we move through this approval hearing, we want these commissioners, if the House so resolves and they are later appointed, to have that careful balance. We cannot have a situation in which we lose the state. Honorable Speaker, I wanted to report here that in the month of June, in the year 2023, we went with Honorable Martin Owino to the EU Parliament in Brussels. And Honorable Martin will confirm to you there was a time I was to address stability and how Kenya can assist in keeping peace and security in the Horn of Africa. The delegation from Sudan stopped me midway on a point of order, saying I cannot talk about Sudan. They didn't know that a short while after that, Sudan was going to be in the situation where it is. There is a day, Honorable Speaker, when we had the Gen Z issues, when I posted on my X account that better a bad government than no government. Honorable Martin Owino had been called by those people who shouted us down, who are warning us not to allow Kenya slide into a stateless situation. And so, Honorable Speaker, sometimes we make some sacrifices at the political level which people take for granted, but they are very critical, so that they save the state, so that we can continue to enjoy human rights. I've had very many young people saying, Baba betrayed us. Baba betrayed us. Honorable Speaker, if you go to June 24th, that thing started as reject finance bill. Once we amended all the provisions, it became Ruto must go. Once we were done with Ruto must go, it moved into Kufa driver, Kufa Makanga, which was both the president and the deputy must go. We have to say, when we have young people in this House, Honorable Speaker, what does the Constitution at Article 146, sub-Article 2, say where both the president and the deputy president are not there? The Speaker of the National Assembly, you, Honorable Speaker, takes over for 60 days, within which the country has to go for elections. And you remember, Honorable Speaker, we did not have IEBC. It meant at the lapse of 60 days, we were going to be in a situation, Honorable Speaker, where there is no leader for this country, where only anarchy is reigning, where the strongest, whether it is civilian coup, military coup, would be reigning. And the first thing we were going to lose, Honorable Speaker, is this beautiful constitution with its Bill of Rights. And so I want to caution that there are some sacrifices we make as political leadership. And I want to thank my party leader, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, for always being patriotic. Let us send these commissioners into the commission. But Honorable Speaker, let us remind them not to sing about human rights to the extent that we may become riotous, we may become chaotic, and we end up with a situation in which the state is not there. If we didn't intervene under the leadership of Baba and our President, Honorable Speaker, we would be having no country now. Because there are people who take things lightly. They want to go with what is popular. Sometimes you need leadership decisions. And in most cases, they are very difficult. I wanted to urge that we resolve Honorable Speaker, as a House to approve these nominees, but as they go into office, let us protect human rights and let us not have a situation, Honorable Speaker. See, Honorable Speaker, what the President has proposed. See how beautiful it is, Honorable Speaker. And allow me to say this as the last thing. The President is saying that in the enjoyment of human rights and civil liberties, we've lost so many Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, the President has constituted a team. You get some idle Kenyans are before a court of law, stopping that team from working. A police officer fired a warning shot somewhere, and you saw a very young, beautiful Kenyan girl being hit by a bullet while in her parents' sitting room. If you leave the parents of that girl to go to court for reparation, it will not succeed. Because, Honorable Speaker, as a lawyer, you know that parent will have to prove negligence on part of the police. And the police will simply say, I was shooting a warning shot, and it ends there. The case will not go anywhere. You'll have to prove this bullet came from the police. You'll have to prove there was negligence. There are cases the President is saying we need to heal as a nation. We want to go as back as possible. But you know, as a lawyer, the Limitation of Actions Act, the cases of 2017 cannot be accepted before any court of law. So we must know that when a leader, the head of state, and I wanted to ask those Kenyans who are politicking, to draw a line between President Ruto, the person, President Ruto, the head of state and symbol of national unity, President Ruto, the commander-in-chief of the defense forces, and the National Police Service is not part of the defense forces. So when, as the head of state is making proposals so that we can heal as a nation and move forward, we don't want judicial overreach, where the judiciary takes the place of the executive, controlling how the head of state in healing the nation to be united and to move together should do their things. I would be urging that even those cases in court, we take them away. We have a system that can allow for compensation of all Kenyans. And I know human life cannot be compensated, but we want to move together within the realm and context of human rights. I wish these commissioners, well as they go into work, but we need to keep that delicate balance so that we respect the institutions and offices of the presidency, of the leaders who make sacrifices, and so that we always have Kenya to continue to enjoy our human rights and fundamental freedoms. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well spoken indeed. The chair is not supposed to celebrate, but what a statesman you are today. Great. You need a nation before you can what you call enjoy rights. The destruction of a state, anarchy, chaos cannot become a substitute to the state and the nation. I want to ask the Honorable, first of all, before I call on somebody else on the same, I will ask the MP for Kirinyaga Central, my old colleague in the 7th Parliament. Was it the 10th Parliament or the 7th Parliament? Yeah? Yes, Honorable Gitari, to proceed and give a word of encouragement to the students from your constituency.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for remembering we were with you that long time ago. I want to appreciate and welcome the students of Kamwiro Secondary School. Personally, I'm a alumni of Kamwiro Secondary School, and they came here today to see what we do here because they are future leaders. On the other side, I want to appreciate Ngaro girls. Those beautiful girls are from Kirinyaga, and they are doing very well. I want you to welcome you to Parliament and tell them, myself, I came to Parliament the first time when I was elected. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Gichimu, is he in the House, MP for Gichogo? He is not in the House. He just put in the card and disappeared. The Honorable Martin Olo. Martin Owino. Are you in the House? Martin Owino. Proceed. Not on this one. Not on this one. The Honorable... The Honorable, yes, indeed, I would give an opportunity to Karoli Omondi first. Do you wish to contribute on this, or it's something else that you plugged your card on?
Honorable Speaker, I'm waiting for the next motion, special motion.
Okay, fair enough. The Honorable Deputy Leader of Majority in the House.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I join my friend, the member for Kirinyaga Central, to welcome the very well-dressed and smart students up in the Speaker's Gallery. You're welcome to the National Assembly to listen and celebrate the moment that you're here. It never happens to everybody that they come to this. So I feel very special, and thank your teachers for making sure you are here. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to contribute to this motion and support the appointment of the chairperson of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, which is actually the motion on the floor. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, human rights. Human rights. And I want to take the cue from my educated friend. I don't want to make the educated friend, the Honorable Kaluma. Yes, so I have dissociated myself from that term. My educated friend, Honorable Kaluma. I want to say this. All these things that we have seen and experienced, Honorable Speaker, they rise and fall on issues of human rights. And human rights is what defines a democracy. Kenya as a democracy must continue to remain strong as one that observes the human rights, because human rights are people's rights, and people's rights are human rights. So when this lady, Ms. Clarice Awor Oganga, takes over the mantle of the Kenya Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, we expect her to do a good job. During the time when we had the Gen Z riots, there was a lot of conflicting information coming from the Kenya National Commission for Human Rights. They said 60 had been killed. They said 70 had been killed. They are a government body. What was it difficult for them to be able to coordinate with other government agencies so that they be able to give the right information? Honorable Speaker, there are many officers in this country who, when they are given guns and who they're given an opportunity to serve the country, they want to do it without consideration of law, without consideration of the human rights, without consideration of the Constitution. We saw that young man, that young police officer on the streets here in Nairobi, who just stood there, took a gun, shot someone, and this person died, and he walked away. And you wonder, really, that the whole problem comes and say, the president has killed people. The government has killed people. And yet there's this one particular guy who would have upheld the Constitution and say, whatever mistake you have made, I have a duty to arrest you, apprehend you, and take you to a court of law. That is how we respect human rights. The rights of Kenyans are human rights. And whoever is given an opportunity to work in the military, in the forces, in the defense forces, whatever it is, their first duty is to carry the banner of human rights so that they are respected. We do not need human rights activities to remind us about human rights. We should be conscious of human rights as a people, and people who have been given power to superintend over duties for Kenyans, Honorable Speaker. And that is what defines a great democracy. Honorable Speaker, we saw the police officer in the United States, the one who put his knee on the neck of someone. You remember that case? Floyd, it's called Floyd something.
Patterson.
Yes, and that guy died. You know, that black man died. One African man that was killed by a police. It became a whole mess, Honorable Speaker, that cost the President of the United States then, Donald Trump, his seat, just because of that one mistake by one police officer. Honorable Speaker, apart from this Kenya National Human Rights Commission making noise and talking, I want them to be proactive, Honorable Speaker, to go out there, have engagement with police officers, have engagement with officers that are uniformed, and teach them and induct them on the issues of human rights so that we don't get to the level that we got, Honorable Speaker, where a lot of lives are lost because someone thinks the only way to defend a government is by shooting someone. Honorable Speaker, that is not how you defend. That is not how you police. That is not how you superintend over the Constitution and the mandate that you... It is not. It is about upholding even the rights of the thief, Honorable Speaker, because he has rights. The rights of the criminal, he has rights. And those are the things that we want the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights to go out there and to educate them, make sure they follow the law, let Kenyans know what is happening. But more importantly, Honorable Speaker, they need to take the function of education very, very, very seriously. We see a lot of human rights abuses, a lot, by people in power. You see a chief going out there, instead of arresting the Chang'aa brewer, he goes and breaks all the barons, he breaks all the plates, he breaks everything in the home, just because this person is a criminal who is selling Chang'aa, Honorable Speaker. Before a judge has said this guy is a criminal, who are you to say that you're a criminal? This guy is a criminal, and you start beating someone up, Honorable Speaker. We need to observe human rights. And I like what the Honorable Educated Kaluma has said, Honorable Speaker. We are a country that must guard this freedom. We must guard our democracy. We must guard this state, this nation called Kenya, jealously, so that we continue to uphold the unity of our country and our state remains Kenya without being divided by anything. What the Constitution says, Kenya is an indivisible. Is that what it says? Indivisible nation. We can't divide it on tribe. What the moment you start discriminating me on the basis of tribe, Honorable Speaker, you are infringing on my human rights. You are infringing on my human rights. The moment we start saying these people, this tribe is more important than the other, we cannot have a state. This country is proud of its diversity, but is also one indivisible nation. One indivisible nation. And that's why someone from another minority, whether from a big tribe, whether... I like the appointments that the president has made. I like them. Who he currently is, we have approved, Honorable Speaker, here, the chairman of, not the chairman, the registrar of political parties. One, John Cox Lorionoko. Minority. But was Pokot. He's been given an opportunity to serve this country, Honorable Speaker. Before that would not have happened. Who is the chairman of IBC, Honorable Speaker? A minority again. Everybody must get an equal opportunity to serve this country, whether you come from a big tribe, a small tribe, or no tribe. Honorable Speaker, you must be given an opportunity because you have the wherewithal, Honorable Speaker, to run an organization. And these are the things that make us Kenya. These are the things that make us Kenya. I want someone from the Shuba. Yes. Very brilliant Karole Omondi, very brilliant lawyer. But if people want to judge you by the tribe, you will be appointed nowhere because someone is looking at you from the tribe that you come from, Honorable Speaker. But when we start seeing every Kenyan as a Kenyan, in spite of the tribe that he comes from, Honorable Speaker, that is upholding human rights. You see, I was in Vienna with the lady from Turkana, the women rep. When the appointment of the IBC commissioner was made, I was with her in Vienna, Honorable Speaker, and the Honorable Women Rep, and we were coming from Hungary, coming into Austria. And this lady was so excited. She was not excited because the person had been appointed was from her place. She was excited because Kenya had for the first time recognized small tribes. And that is where we need to go, Honorable Speaker. We must stop this thing that only one tribe can serve in the cabinet. That one tribe has 10 slots in the cabinet. And the others are left. Honorable Speaker, I look forward to 2027, where every tribe, every small, wherever big or small, will be included in the positions that matter in this country. That's when, Honorable Speaker, we'll be able to build a country, a nation, a state that is together, woven together for the future and prosperity of this country. Honorable Speaker, I support. And if you allow me, Honorable Speaker, I would like to request you, because everybody is of similar mind, to request the mover to reply.
As a matter of fact, I don't see. I only see Honorable Mboko. Honorable Mboko, you removed your name again. Do you still wish to contribute on this? There being no more person, I don't see any interest from anywhere. Then I would call upon do you want to contribute on the motion, or I call upon the mover to reply? Okay, proceed, Honorable Mboko.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The Human Rights Commission, a very important commission for this country, given that the Constitution we are now having, the 2010 Constitution promulgated by Mwai Kibaki, was largely founded on two bases. One, governance, really the system of governance, but secondly, the human rights. And human rights took a very center stage on what the Kenyans want. Therefore, this is a very important commission, which we expect that as it takes root and the members take oath of office and go to office, we'll be able to actually guard their center. Human rights in this country are the center stage of Kenyans, and everybody talks about my right. And the rights are so broad. Away from the political rights, we have the economic rights, we have the consumer rights, and it's a very broad phase. But I noticed that each time we have officers taken to this particular office and center, they only concentrate on one item, which is the political rights and other things around that. Because they forget all the rights that really they also need to champion and talk about. But it's very important that as they do that, they also consider the fact that all the rights, as we do teach in schools, a teacher, have their limitations. And it's very important that as they propagate those rights, they also talk about the limitations. It's very easy for the citizenry to be enlightened that there are limits of all the rights that we have. Because sometimes I notice that it's propagated and they make it forcefully move, and without any limitations, then they start infringing on the rights of other people. So I want to hope that the members and the people who are to be in this office will do their rise above the old version of doing it, which was just mainly dealing with the agitation only and not also educating the masses. The limitation of the rights, and other avenues of the rights, and other things that will be done by the citizens of the country so as to be able to move forward. For instance, look at when we sometimes lose matters concerning taxation. That's a responsibility, for instance, of the citizen. But you'll find they'll never speak about it, because after all, governments are run by those taxes that people do pay. And therefore, I want to wish them the very best and hope that they'll be doing their work diligently. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Call upon the reply because there's nobody else who has an interest.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As I reply, may I thank the contributors. I think we are in agreement that this is a very important appointment that we have to execute as required by law, and the sentiments expressed as regards our country. This is vitally important that at all times we must ensure that we keep our country united, and political parties must also endeavor to ensure that they do not divide us along community lines, ethnic lines, where parties have only memberships in certain regions, and as a result of which they say we will use this as bargaining. Let's form parties that are cross-cutting across the country so that at all points Kenyans remain one people, under one nation, under one flag, and under one presidency. That is exactly what is being advocated today, and anybody going contrary to that then is not in tandem with what the views of Kenyans. So the register of political parties and, the chairperson of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, you're going to be approved by this House. Do your work seamlessly, courageously. Make sure that Kenyans whose rights are paramount are not trampled upon. Those remarks, I beg to reply.
Honorable members, and circumstances, I'll now put the question. That taken into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the approval hearing of a nominee for appointment as chairperson of the Kenya National Human Rights Commission, Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, the 23rd September 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 250, Sub-Article 2 of the Constitution, Section 11 of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights Act, Cap 71, and Section 3 and 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, Cap 7F, approves the appointment of Clarice Awor Oganga as the chairperson of Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. Will as many of the opinion say aye? Will as many of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 11, motion, extension of the term of the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act.
My Honorable Jane Kagiri, MP. Please move your motion.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that, aware that the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, enacted in 2000, was designed to enhance economic development and strengthen governance in eligible sub-Saharan African countries by granting duty-free access to the United States of America market, thereby increasing trade and investment. Recognizing that AGOA has played a critical role in expanding trade, attracting investment, and creating employment, especially for low-income workers, thus fostering economic growth and social stability. Concerned that the current extension of the AGOA program, which was granted in 2015, is set to expire in September 2025, posing a serious risk of economic disruption, which will cause job losses of approximately 66,000 Kenyans and many other related indirect job losses, and result in increasing poverty across AGOA-dependent sectors in the sub-Saharan region. Noting that women comprise approximately 75% of the direct beneficiaries of AGOA, and that their incomes directly support education, healthcare, and poverty alleviation. Acknowledging that AGOA has significantly boosted African exports to the United States of America, including agricultural products such as coffee, nuts, fruits, and vegetables, amounting to over USD 500 million in 2010, as well as enhancing local textile and cotton industries that have generated thousands of jobs. Further acknowledging that the expiration of the term of AGOA would trigger market uncertainty, deter investment, disrupt supply chains, and adversely impact both African and American businesses that rely on AGOA-linked trade. Cognizant of the fact that AGOA has been greatly beneficial to the United States by supporting supply chain diversification, strengthening bilateral trade ties, and connecting United States of America business to opportunities under the African Continental Free Trade Area, in brackets AFCFTA. Appreciating that the continued existence of the AGOA framework would enhance the trade and investment prospects for both the United States of America and the eligible countries in Africa. Now, therefore, this House urges the government of Kenya, in collaboration with the government of the United States of America, to pursue an extension of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, for an additional 16 years until 2041 to safeguard the economic gains, protect livelihoods, and promote long-term stability and prosperity across the African continent, and in the alternative, in the case of non-renewal, there be a transition period of 2 years to develop a trade deal that shall safeguard the businesses and job opportunities in both Kenya and the United States of America. Honorable Speaker, the African Growth Opportunities Agreement is an economic policy that grants eligible countries in sub-Saharan Africa duty-free access to the US market. Honorable Speaker, it is good for us to first ask ourselves the genesis of AGOA was what? AGOA's birth started when the General Tariffs and Trade Agreement was supposed to be reviewed under WTO. And the idea behind it, Honorable Speaker, was to increase membership on WTO. So what economic attaches from the United States of America were told to do is to visit African governments and encourage them to join the WTO. When they visited the African governments, all governments rejected joining because they knew what they had to persevere in between the trade. Africa was viewed as a part. So in that case, Honorable Speaker, if any country from Africa wanted to export to the United States of America in raw form or a primary product, there was no tariff that was charged. But if they tried to value add that product in any way, then they would automatically get escalating tariffs on whatever product that they were going to export to the United States of America. Honorable Speaker, that call for the United States of America, realizing and getting to know that they did not have any trade law or trade policy with Africa. And that's how the journey on forming the AGOA agreement began. Honorable Speaker, for AGOA to have been achieved, there required partisan support in the Congress, that is in the United States of America, and fortunately, that was very easy to go by, because the Republicans asked, why is trade good for everyone else apart from Africa? And on the Democrat side, they questioned the exclusion of Africa on trade policy. The spiritual and faith-based organizations, the private sector, as well as the people of America supported and felt that Africa needed to be included in doing business with America. Honorable Speaker, as the conversation was going on, eventually the America got support from the 48 countries in Africa, and it felt that now the process could continue and continue successfully. The greatest questions the Americans had was if they were going to incur any job losses. And of course, what was introduced to them, they were told this is called trade diversion. Because in America, a jeans cannot be produced at less than $12 US. However, in China, that is possible. So what Americans were told is to allow for Africa to also compete for that same opportunity. And that is how AGOA eventually got its support. And the year 2000, in the month of May, the President, Bill Clinton, signed it into law. And Honorable Speaker, it's good to add that AGOA was achieved through a broad-based engagement. So this also tells us when like minds come together, great things actually happen. Honorable Speaker, as of today, 32 African countries are eligible for AGOA, and of course the eligibility is tested every year and determined by the sitting President of the United States of America, where they check on human rights, they check on workers' rights, they check on the rule of law, as well as open market-oriented economies to ensure that all this is observed for African countries to continue trading with America. Honorable Speaker, I'm sure by now you're asking, what is the benefit of AGOA to Kenya at this particular point? Honorable Speaker, allow me to read. Bedi Investment EPZ Limited employs 11,000 people. United Aryan EPZ Limited employs 10,000 people. Simba Apparel EPZ Limited employs 4,000 people. Mega Apparel EPZ Limited employs 4,400 people. Employs 6,000 people. Africa Apparel employs 4,400. Mass Intimates employs 3,500. Best Corporation employs 2,500. And Aston Apparel employs 6,000 people. Honorable Speaker, as per those calculations that I've given, the total is already 47,400 people. If I include the new factories that have come up, the total goes up to 66,000 people employed by these jobs. Honorable Speaker, to bring it closer home, I know there are constituencies who our registered voters run into those numbers. So today, if we are not able to get an extension on AGOA, it is synonymous to a whole constituency of registered voters losing their bread and butter or wherever they get their livelihoods from. Honorable Speaker, with AGOA set to expire on 30th September, that is 6 days away from today, we face an economic disruption which will affect a total of 550,000 people. Again, Honorable Speaker, if I would bring it to our local, closer home for us, Laikipia has a population of 550,000 people. So that would mean that is the kind of population that would be affected if we are not able to get the extension by the end of this month. Honorable Speaker, the success of AGOA has been demonstrated through the trade that has occurred so far, and its annual trade is around 500 to 550 million US dollars. And on the American side, 200 to 250 million in annual consumer savings is always achieved every year. Honorable Speaker, going by the policy of America first, I'm sure even as we seek for this extension, America will be wondering what is in it for them. Honorable Speaker, we need to remind them that Kenya is strategically positioned as the gateway to the EAC market. Already we are offering a market of around 180 million consumers, and that would be a ready market for them. Again, Honorable Speaker, if we extend the market to the whole of Africa, that is 1.3 billion people, ready consumers, and ready market for them. So that would create a compelling opportunity for any American investor who would want to come to this country. Let's also not forget, Honorable Speaker, we have our port, which has good facilities. We have the Northern Corridor, Honorable Speaker. We have the skilled Kenyans who are ready to work and serve. And Honorable Speaker, those are just but the many benefits that any investor coming to Kenya would find ready for them. Honorable Speaker, AGOA's 25-year track record, which is marked this year, demonstrates measurable benefits to America. As of today, they've traded US billion 11.3 in good trade deficit with sub-Saharan Africa due to essential oils and minerals and mineral imports. It maintains a USD 7 billion surplus in non-resource goods and 5.5 billion services surplus. That creates an overall positive trade balance for them. Honorable Speaker, in the course of my findings, I came across what we call the African Dream in Action, or let me call it the Kenyan Dream in Action. Picture a young man and a young woman who, due to systemic barriers, have been unable to pursue education and end up becoming lawyers, engineers, or even doctors. Honorable Speaker, these two young people work to an AGOA exporting company and eventually are lucky to get jobs. They get very excited and look forward to a good future. Honorable Speaker, as they're settling into their new roles, they form a bond, start thinking about a family, and start planning their future together. Today, Honorable Speaker, when I stand here, those are the kind of scenarios that we're having in these EPZ AGOA exporting companies, where we have families that now are wondering if the extension is not extended, what is going to happen to them. Honorable Speaker, that is just a scenario of an employee who now has to worry about their livelihood. Let's go to the investor story. Honorable Speaker, after this law was signed in the year 2000, very many ambitious men and women came into Kenya as investors, and some were already local investors. When they decided to pursue the opportunity, Honorable Speaker, they put in their resources, they put in their time, and they put in their energy. This with expectations that the business was going to work out well for them. In the first 5 to 7 years, of course, it was a trial and error phase, which some succeeded and some had to close down because of the losses they incurred. Honorable Speaker, let's not forget the 2008 financial crisis that occurred, and demand for products actually went down. Honorable Speaker, let's not forget COVID-19, where all these factories were supposed to close, and of course they were low on business during that period. Again, Honorable Speaker, this is a sad story we're experiencing today of people who don't know about their future because of the lack of this extension. Honorable Speaker, the third scenario I'm going to give is that major US retailers and brands plan their sourcing for goods 12 to 18 months in advance. That is because of the seasons that they bring in their products. Honorable Speaker, with the uncertainty that has been there, it is certain that when people have lost up to $67 million because there is no buyer who is going to engage a supplier whom he's not assured of his priority access to the US market. So, Honorable Speaker, what is happening to our local factories is that they're actually losing business, and it's likely that they'll never get these clients ever again, because the minute they try an alternative market, it is likely that they'll get tempted to remain with that market. Honorable Speaker, that is the third scenario, and we need to consider what our people are going through. Finally, Honorable Speaker, I ask myself as a Kenyan, what must we do to improve the environment in this country? The first thing, Honorable Speaker, looking at the last statement that I've brought about of the loss in business that our local factories are experiencing, I believe as a country we should never wait until the last minute for us to go negotiate for an extension. This should have been done earlier, and this is a great lesson that we're supposed to learn from today. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, we have to ensure that we have to keep supporting this, the AGOA agreement, because it also helps us improve on our balance of trade, a balance of payment, which of course enhances our credit score, Honorable Speaker. We have to also, it's also helping us ensure more consumption of our raw materials, especially like cotton, so that needs to be encouraged. Honorable Speaker, we have so many investors, both local and international, who want to come and put up factories in our country. However, we have so much bureaucracy and we have so many bottlenecks. We cannot be an increased challenge to businesses that are already struggling. So that is something that we have to also look into. Again, Honorable Speaker, we have what we call technology transfer. We do not expect that anybody working at these EPZ factories remains a worker. We also expect them to try to get that knowledge transferred and eventually become employers or even own their own factories just as those. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, our hope and prayer is that we are going to get the extension of the 16 years, and even if not that, at least we get a 2 years transition period. Honorable Speaker, however, in my personal view, I believe our government should seek for a lasting solution, because I have been an entrepreneur. And I don't understand how somebody can plan a strategy for their company with 16 years in view. Of course, those companies are not operating at optimum because there are those uncertainties on whether it's going to be renewed or it's not going to be renewed. Finally, Honorable Speaker, the framework, I would want to state that in conclusion, we already have an existing framework. The benefits have been proven, just as I've spoken. It is now our duty to ensure those who have been benefiting don't lose on the benefits, because their loss is equally going to be our loss. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I beg Honorable Karoli Omondi, an astute lawyer, member for Suba South, to second this motion. Thank you.
Proceed, Honorable Karoli Omondi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Let me begin by congratulating the Honorable Lady and for bringing this special motion and in asking me to second it. Honorable Speaker, AGOA was actually supposed to substitute aid because for a very long time, African countries had been arguing that we should move from aid to trade. And it had been very difficult for the African countries who are mainly producing raw materials and agricultural goods to access the world's biggest economy, which was the US market. Because of various trade barriers or restrictive measures that were in place in that economy. And for a long time, Africans, instead of walking around the Western world with begging bowls, they were asking that the trade environment be made favorable so they could export more into the American market. Because what they were facing were tariffs, high taxes, high levies on their imports, but also subsidies on the American local goods that would make the African imports less competitive. And there were also quotas. Africans were being restricted to quotas, quantitative restrictions as to how much they could export. And there were also non-tariff barriers, regulations and quality standards that would make it very difficult to sell into the American market. So over the years, Africans agitated within the multilateral framework that we should focus more on trade and not aid. So in 2000, the US Congress enacted the African Growth and Opportunity Act, which was supposed to give more access to the US market for African produced goods. They have something they call generalized system of preference programs, which allows about 5,000 African goods to enter the American market. But under AGOA, an additional 1,800 products were added, mostly from the extractive industry, but as well as the agricultural and textile and apparel. And the difference is amazing. In the 25 years that AGOA has been in place, the imports or the trade volumes between Africa and US have grown 500%. In fact, at the peak, it would be about $12 billion a year. And cumulatively, it came to about 1% of the US global trade, which was quite significant. And the leading African countries, of the 34 that have been participating in AGOA, South Africa was number 1, the top 5. Nigeria was 2, Ghana was 3. Kenya was actually number 4, followed by Madagascar and Angola. And Kenya, at the peak, exported about $650 million, mainly apparel and textiles, out of here, employing 66,000 people. That is what is at stake here. Now, President Clinton, because of the usual local politics, gave it a lifespan of 15 years from 2000. And you remember in 2009, Kenya actually hosted the AGOA forum here. And then 15 years after inception, it was extended for another 10 years. And it is now coming to an abrupt end. Okay, we knew about it. But I say abrupt because what has shocked me, I've not heard of a transition plan by the Kenya government. What will they do when AGOA comes to an end in about a week's time? What will they do with 66,000 people employed in those industries that have benefited from AGOA? And to make matters worse, I've not even heard the East African Union, the East African Community, I've not heard COMESA, I've not heard African Union as a collective talk about this. And we all know that world trade, bilateral negotiations by individual African countries will take you nowhere. It is a multilateral system that works for Africa and the developing countries. So the first thing we would really want to hear from the government is, what is the transition plan? What are they going to do with all these people who are going to lose their jobs, the companies that are going to be closed? Because we should have thought about this much, much deeply and acted quickly and decisively. And today, we are experiencing commercial diplomacy in the US. There's a new administration that does not seem to believe in multilateralism much. And I'm very confident they are not paying a lot of attention to this. But as Africans, I think we need to find a way of insisting on this. And also impress upon the US that AGOA was a very useful soft diplomatic tool for them because of the things that came about with it. As part of the eligibility conditionalities, countries were required to enhance, good governance, support human rights, combat poverty, eliminate trade barriers for US goods as well, combat corruption, and practice political pluralism. Without AGOA, all these soft tools for US foreign policy will go away. And I'm also worried that the more jobs we lose in Africa, the more immigration crisis will emanate, because more people, human beings, will tend to follow the money. And the US may think winding up AGOA and causing massive job losses in Africa will not affect them. But the reality is that there'll be a lot of economic migration to the Western Hemisphere. And they need to look at this very keenly. And if you also look at it from the American perspective, it has benefited their economy substantially. So it is a two-way traffic. But we seem to be coming on it too late in the day. But I think we should not just let AGOA collapse without an alternative or without a transition. So I strongly support this motion, and hopefully that the government on its own here will give us a transition plan for AGOA fairly soon. As to what we will do with 66,000 people who are going to lose jobs, factories that are going to be closed, and the instability, the economic and social instability that will come with that. Honorable Speaker, I support. Thank you very much.
And your output scale is going to be the actual resolution that you're going to send to YouTube, all right? So for now, we're actually sending 1920 by 1080p, okay? And we're streaming FPS in 30 frames per second. That's important.
Yeah, who's seconding? Okay. Oh, you have seconded now. I'll have to propose.
So now we're going to set up for Facebook. So we're going to go to multiple.
Honorable members,
we're going to go where it says,
I now propose.
And then for service, you're gonna need what's called a swing key from Facebook. But before you do that, just gonna last step. I'm gonna show you where to get the settings.
Don't worry, Speaker is not tired.
Now, for Facebook, we're gonna be streaming.
Honorable members, I now propose.
And then we're gonna be streaming 1080p.
Aware that the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, enacted in 2000, was designed to enhance economic development and strengthen governance in eligible sub-Saharan African countries by granting duty-free access to the United States of America market, thereby increasing trade and investment. Recognizing that AGOA has played a critical role in expanding trade, attracting investment, and creating employment, especially for low-income workers, thus fostering economic growth and social stability. Concerned that the current extension of the AGOA program, which was granted in 2015, is set to expire in September 2025, posing a serious risk of economic disruption, will cause job losses of approximately 66,000 Kenyans and many other related indirect job losses, and result in increased poverty across AGOA-dependent sectors in the sub-Saharan region. Noting that women comprise approximately 75% of the direct beneficiaries of AGOA, and that their incomes directly support education, healthcare, and poverty alleviation. Acknowledging that AGOA has significantly boosted African exports to the United States of America, including agricultural products such as coffee, nuts, fruits, and vegetables, amounting to over US dollars 500 million in 2020, as well as enhancing local textile and economic industries and cotton industries that have generated thousands of jobs. Further acknowledging that the expiration of the term of AGOA would trigger market uncertainty, deter investment, disrupt supply chains, and adversely impact both African and American businesses that rely on AGOA-linked trade. Cognizant of the fact that AGOA has been greatly beneficial to the United States by supporting supply chain diversification, strengthening bilateral trade ties, and connecting United States of America businesses to opportunities under the African Continental Free Trade Area. Appreciating that the continued existence of AGOA, of the AGOA framework, would enhance the trade and investment prospects for both the United States of America and the eligible countries in Africa.
okay, click modify.
Now, therefore, this House urges the government of Kenya, in collaboration with the government of the United States of America, to pursue an extension of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, for an additional
Modify Facebook page.
16 years until the year 2041 to safeguard the economic gains, protect livelihoods, and promote long-term stability and prosperity across the African continent. And in the alternative, in the case of non-renewal, there be a transition period of 2 years to develop a trade deal that shall safeguard the businesses and job opportunities in both Kenya and the United States of America.
I want to make sure you go ahead and click and upload a thumbnail, and everything else should stay the way it is. And then
I have the Honorable KJ.
a broadcast for YouTube, okay? Because YouTube is already connected.
KJ.
I don't have to go in the back end of.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. It's ever a pleasure on these afternoons when you are on the seat, Mr. Speaker, and on such a day when we are discussing such a critical matter that is of great benefit to two countries that have a history of great cooperation, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I ought to start by congratulating the Honorable Jane Kagiri for bringing such an important matter to the floor of the House, where it belongs, where this debate should be. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, we are debating this quite late in the day. When we talk about a deadline of September 30th, we are talking about 6 days. So this is a matter of national concern, of national interest that goes beyond even our borders in terms of geopolitical cooperation. Mr. Speaker, in moving, the Honorable County MP for Laikipia has unpacked benefits untold that even as we speak today, AGOA has been able to open up duty-free access to over 6,000 products, Mr. Speaker. And these products include apparel, as we have seen in places like Athi River. They include ICT. They include handicrafts. They include our agricultural produce, including coffee. And so, Mr. Speaker, this country reviewing the AGOA agreement 20 years on, we can only count the benefits, Mr. Speaker. It is quite sad that we are debating these 6 days to the deadline, and I'm praying that there shall be a remedy that shall come in to extend these by 15 years. And if that is not possible, then, Mr. Speaker, the ask here is for an extension of 2 years. And Mr. Speaker, why this afternoon becomes so important is because as we speak today, the head of state is actually in the US. And my prayer is that as Parliament is debating these on the floor of the House this afternoon, that the government, led by no less than the head of state, shall be engaging on this issue of AGOA, because as we have been told, Mr. Speaker, we stand a great risk of losing so many jobs, around 66,000 jobs directly, and more than 500,000 jobs indirectly that have been offered by this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, as I said, Kenya and the US have a long-standing, great relationship. We have had great diplomacy between us, and it was even fortified by this trade diplomacy. Mr. Speaker, I know you're one of the biggest proponents of decolony, Mr. Speaker. That anybody who wants to be a friend of Africa today, anybody who wants to assist Africa today, Africa does not require aid. Africa does not need the help that we have traditionally got from the West. The best way to be a friend of Africa, the best way to be a friend of Kenya is to support us with mutually beneficial endeavors. And trade is one such. When we look at AGOA 15 years down the line, 25 years down the line, Mr. Speaker, we see benefits that are accruing on both sides. Kenya benefits from direct jobs created. We benefit from a good
the best way to be a friend of Kenya,
skills and knowledge. At the same time, America stands to benefit in a great way. We know that trade balance dictates that you are not over-reliant on one supplier. And the United States, that has had an over-reliance on Asian economies, gets an opportunity with this AGOA to be able to have a competitive trade environment where they can get quality, affordable products from a place like Kenya. And Mr. Speaker, when you see what is happening in the apparel industry, in the agricultural sector, it is impressive. But in today's world, Mr. Speaker, we are talking about a new world that is driven by technology. And Mr. Speaker, with AGOA, Kenya stands to benefit greatly from a country that is a leader in technology, knowing what is happening in places like Silicon Valley, where the big tech giants sit, the big tech giants that are coding the code that is running the world today and into the future. We know what data is doing to the world today. We know the power of algorithms in our digital platforms and our social media. So America stands to benefit in the space of ICT. Similarly, Mr. Speaker, the US does stand to benefit in that, as we speak today, big tech companies from America, name them, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, all of them have offices domiciled in Kenya, not only for the benefit of the Kenyan market, but also as an entry point into the East African market and even the African market. And as such, US gains a great advantage on having its companies benefiting from an economy that is a growing economy in the Southern Hemisphere. Mr. Speaker, Kenya has been seeking to stop being a net importer. And AGOA was heaven sent. We must say a big thank you to the government of Kenya and the government of America, because what benefits have been accruing are now showing 25 years on in both economies, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, I do support the motion brought here by Honorable Jen Kagiri, and I pray that the people in Laikipia are seeing the person that they send to Parliament. Because when you're sent to the National Assembly, Mr. Speaker, you're not sent here to be parochial or to be dealing with just matters within your constituency or your village. You should be sent to Parliament with a mind that speaks patriotically, but also has a global outlook on matters and issues. And so, Mr. Speaker, I do stand to support this, and I do stand also to congratulate the Honorable Jen Kagiri for such a motion that is so timely. And I do pray, Mr. Speaker, that this Parliament will move government to be able to negotiate well enough for us to get an extension of at least 15 years, Mr. Speaker. And if that is not possible, Mr. Speaker, then there should be a transition, at least 2 years, so that any person involved in this trade, involved in this business, has time to organize for contingent measures that can be taken at the expiry of the AGOA agreement. Mr. Speaker, I do support, and it is in the benefit of Kenya, it is in the benefit of the United States of America, it is in the benefit of their people, their traders, and their businesses, and the good cooperation of these two great countries, if we could get an extension of AGOA. Mr. Speaker, I do thank you.
The Honorable Basil, followed by the Honorable Dera. Order, the Honorable Dera. Basil first.
Yes, thank you, Speaker. I was waiting to contribute to the motion from my sister, Honorable Kagiri. This is a very essential motion, and I'm saying why I'm saying that. Because if you look at our country today, we are actually grappling with unemployment. And it's through AGOA that we'll be able to generate employment locally in the country. If you look at what is happening globally, at the global space, you find there are quite a number of illegal immigrants who are trying to go to the United States, actually to look for employment. But through AGOA, you'll be able to generate these jobs here. Honorable Kagiri did provide analysis of how jobs are being generated for Kenyans right in the country. We talk of export processing zone that has employed quite a number of Kenyans, and more so women. So that is an opportunity generated by AGOA, and that's why we support the renewal of AGOA actually to be able to enhance and expand opportunities for Kenyans right here in the country. Mr. Speaker, another very important point is actually foreign exchange. It's just Honorable KJ has talked about Kenya being a net importer of most of the goods we use. Through AGOA, we are given an opportunity to enter the US market, to be able to generate foreign exchange, to be able to have higher balance of trade. Because when you have more value of exports as opposed to imports, that is a positive balance of trade. And that can only be realized through AGOA, Kenya being, that is the contract being extended for Kenya to continue driving benefits through AGOA, Mr. Speaker. Importantly, Mr. Speaker, we are talking of industrial growth. We are in a world where industrialization is so salient in the modern world. If you look at China and advanced many of the Asian tigers, they use the same approach to be able to industrialize, where they attracted investors right in their countries. Through AGOA, we are going to be able to attract many investors who are going to come and set base here in Kenya. And it is through that we will be able to be on the path to industrialization. So that's why I'm saying this is a very important motion which I stand to support, Mr. Speaker. We have heard about knowledge, technology transfer. Remember, for you to export in the US, there are certain standards, there are certain parameters that have to be met. And the standard, one of it is quality in terms of the product that you produce. And for you to reach that, there is training, capacity building, knowledge transfer from the US investors to the local Kenyans who will be employed by some of these companies. And this is so important for sustainability and the resilience building as we move forward as a nation, Mr. Speaker. Importantly, economic empowerment for women, because as I've said, most of the people who benefit from this, particularly the SMEs, women in small, medium enterprises who own some of these companies, they actually diversify their income. And this is a very solid model of economic empowerment when we talk of empowering women to be able to sustain families for current and future generations, Mr. Speaker. Importantly, Kenya has been relying on traditional exports. We talk of tea and coffee. But through AGOA, we have diversified. We talk of textile products. So economic diversification is realized through AGOA. And that's why this is a motion that all members should stand up and support. It's only that is unfortunate, the House looks a bit empty, but I wish many members could be here to be able to come and enjoy the debate, Mr. Speaker. Now, to be able to support my arguments, there are better ways to also promote exports through AGOA. That is, if the contract is extended, and that is what we are advocating for. One of it is to give tax credits to factories that are set in base in Kenya. If you give tax credit, you attract many factories to come and establish their operations right in the country. And this is a model that has been used by the United States back from 1981, when we had the President Ronald Reagan, who was the president then. He used the model of giving tax credit to factories who have now set base in the US. And that's why today everyone wants to go to the US. So we need to do that. Again, we need to support agriculture. I'm happy we have been talking of subsidized agriculture. I mean subsidized fertilizers to promote agriculture and to promote production. Remember, agriculture is the backbone of this country. And most of what we are talking in AGOA products, they are agriculture-based products. So if we promote agriculture by appropriating budget properly to be able to support production in terms of raw materials, then we'll be on the right path to make sure AGOA indeed works for the country. Importantly, we need to lower the cost of electricity, because doing business in Kenya is a bit expensive because there is taxes in the electricity grid. If we reduce the cost of taxes in electricity, we will be able to ensure many foreign companies that come to Kenya find it easy to do business in Kenya. We also need to minimize bureaucracies in setting companies so as to be able to ensure there is a proper win for companies to come and set operations here and promote the partnership through AGOA. And that is the better way to thrive more as a country through AGOA partnership. And then lastly, Mr. Speaker, we need to argue, we need to base our arguments by showcasing how Kenya has benefited in the previous years, from 2000 to now. We are talking of 25 years. And that will give us a solid platform to be able to advocate why the United States should actually renew this contract and allow our country to continue partnering with it. With those few remarks, I allow myself to support the motion, and I'm happy for the future policy making or any legislation that will be done. I'm happy to support my sister in that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support this motion, and I think, in my opinion, it's even too late, and it has come too late. One of the factors is we have to know the genesis of the AGOA, why it was started. It was about mostly the African continent, and by now 32 countries were approved. And with that, it has already brought about 60,000 employment, and mostly women. When you do 60,000 times about 100 families, that's you're talking about 600,000. In particular, for me, I talk about the cost. If AGOA has already changed cities, if you look, I think Honorable Mwini is here, you look at Changamwe, the population of the textile industries there is enough. It is like 3,000 voters. It is enough people to make somebody an MCA. Second, it's about AGOA, it's about AI. There's transfer of technology. The world is going to technology. We are talking about technology exchange in terms of defense. We are seeing in all other countries. These days, people don't go to war. It is technology. With this, we are going to have that exchange of technology. Then we come to agriculture, we come to weather. It's all AI. The world is going there, and I think that's a very important part now. Two, it's about, I want to raise a point to my brothers here. We should notice that all the balls in the World Cup were made here. Half were made in Kitengela, half were made in Meritina and Changamwe. That made the balance of payment to increase. That is, when we look at when we had the COVID and now, there's a company in Mpwapwa which has signed an agreement for the production of incubators for the American system, which is worth about 7 billion. Right now we are producing syringes also in Mpwapwa on the same terms of AGOA because of the market of the American market. Three, I would want to emphasize on the issue of jobs. If we lose these jobs in a place like Mariakani, a place like Mazeras, where I come from, the towns will be completely bad. What does it mean? Insecurity. What does it mean for the American society? These people will look for alternative ways as a human being. That is the core aspect of the American government now on the immigration. So if we want to stop this also, they need to look at that point. Three, we have just spoken today about land use. And I come to the agricultural part. Added value. That was the meaning of AGOA. The core aspect was for the African countries to be able to add value to their produce. Now, we have just talked about land use. We have to look and be broader and see where are we going to take our products. So, in my opinion, I think it's coming too late. We are a bit late, and I want to congratulate Jane Kakiri, because I think it's coming late, but it's not time. Mainly because the president is there and the bilateral agreements are being signed. We need to look at it. But what I want to emphasize more, I think we shouldn't look at 2 years. In my opinion, the 16 years, it's good. And that's what we hope for. But I think for the extension, maybe even if, let's say, the worst comes to the worst, I think we should look for about 3 years. Because a business needs to expand, and business needs a strategic plan. You can't say those people who have come here, they will just need 2 years and then you close shop, you close business. So I think we should look, in my opinion, for more than 3 years. But we are aiming for the 16 years. So I will just want to emphasize and appeal to the American government and our government. Through good relationship, we'll be able to extend, because we are looking at a crisis with the young people increasing and the unemployment and the future of the young people. Thank you. So I stand to and I support Jane, and thank you. Now, if you are in your home, I will ask you to talk.
The Honorable GK. Proceed. Next. Okay, you got it.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this very important motion. And I want to take this opportunity to congratulate my colleague, Honorable Jane Kagiri, for coming up with this very important motion. Honorable Speaker, AGOA, as we know it, has employed thousands of Kenyans, and it is a very important tool for socio-economic transformation in this country. Honorable Speaker, for our women and our youth to grow and to access education, to access healthcare, better healthcare, and to access a better life, we need to plead with the American government to give us a good extension of the AGOA Pact. Honorable Speaker, AGOA is not just for trade, but it is an instrument for global political economy, where the American government stands to benefit a lot from its cooperation with African countries in a way that deepens our relationships and in a way that enhances the cooperation that we have with the United States government. Honorable Speaker, it would be a very sad day if AGOA came to an abrupt end, disrupting lives and disrupting businesses, which will throw away the gains, the major gains that we have achieved through this very important instrument of trade. Honorable Speaker, in the absence of better trade between nations, there is no way we will be able to grow our partnerships and to enhance the living standards of the people of the both countries, that is United States and Kenya. Specifically Kenya, Honorable Speaker, Kenya is a growing economy, and with the support of the American opportunities of trade with the American government, we stand to grow at a better rate, where the human life of our country stands to flourish and to for us, so that we are able to also live a good life. And we don't have, when we have a good life here, Honorable Speaker, we don't have to send our people to the United States. Our people will not be keen to travel to the United States for better opportunities. AGOA will have availed to us that opportunity here, so that we will be traveling to America and other countries, other developed countries, as visitors, to go and exchange ideas, to go and better our education, and so that way, Honorable Speaker, we will have mutual respect, we have better respect for each other, and our people, that is the people of America and the people of Kenya, will view each other as friends and not as opportunists in any way. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand to support Honorable Jane Kagiri, and I wish that the American government will consider, if not for any other reason, our women and our children who derive their livelihood from this very good pact. Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I support.
The Honourable Murugara, followed by the MP for Liwa. Proceed, Murugara.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, thank you for allowing me to also voice my support for this particular motion, a very important motion. And to thank you, Honorable Jane Kagiri, the woman member of Parliament for Laikipia. I echo the sentiments of Honorable KJ regarding the people of Laikipia and exactly what they find in their member of Parliament, especially in terms of quality of what is brought to this House, including this particular motion, urging two states to extend an agreement which, in our view, is extremely beneficial to the people of Kenya and also to the people of America, the United States of America. The agreement is actually bilateral in as much as it also touches on other sub-Saharan countries in Africa. Usually the sub-Saharan countries are what are termed as third world countries or undeveloped countries. And sometimes when they want to be pleasant to us, they say we are developing. But for sure, the categorization is that we are undeveloped, and therefore we need much of this so that we are also able to start moving towards where the other nations of the world are. It is very, very important that this agreement is taken care of. It's an agreement that has lasted 25 years, as a result of which we Kenyans have found fruit in its execution.